Round 2 of practice for the NASCAR Nationwide Series caps off Friday afternoon in Thunder Valley. Everything at the ready on what has become maybe the nicest day of racing we've had all year. 66 degrees, a light breeze, and a lot of sun as the cars back out of their pit stalls and get ready to roll for this second practice session. With Hermie Sadler and Jeff Hammond, I'm Mike Joy. This track has really thrown everybody a curveball. When the Cup cars had their first practice today, the track would not rubber up, wouldn't take any rubber. So in the first Nationwide Series practice, Jeff, what did these drivers face and how do these teams have to deal with it? Well,
what they've been working on, Mike, is that for some reason this race tire has not got the grip that they were expecting when they came back here. And it took a while for them to put rubber on the track. The groove is starting to come in. We're starting to see that black tire circle go around the racetrack. This is what's happening as the tires are wearing. We're seeing this spray go up the top of the racetrack. So it's making it treacherous getting out of the bottom groove. And a lot of guys have been working on trying to get the car not only to rotate through the center of the corner, but to have that forward bite and not get loose up off. We've seen a lot of guys spin out in that first practice, but the latter part of the practice, as far as that's concerned, they got better.
And this is your last chance to get it right for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, and I think what's important here is the experienced drivers with the experienced crew chiefs really should have an advantage with this a little bit of break between practice, because as Jeff said, a lot of these guys were not expecting this lack of grip. So let's see if the experienced guys and crew chiefs start making their way to the top of the speed chart here in the second practice.
All right, let's check downstairs with Chris Devoto.
I want to give you an update on Trevor May. This is home turf for the Knoxville native. He's actually got a bunch of Hoops Pro Cup and a couple of nationwide races here. He said this car feels better than any car he has ever had. He's also on cloud 9 because his Tennessee Volunteers knocked off his crew chief, Jerry Baxter's San Diego State team. They had lunch on it, so Jerry will be buying Trevor lunch here at Bristol. Dick Berggren.
Well, you would think that the experienced drivers would have the advantage here. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world, but Kevin Harvick, who last spring won his 5th nationwide race here at Bristol and who has led 1,098 laps, says that they tore the car completely apart in the first practice. New spindles, all kinds of changes. They're just trying to get a hold of this racetrack. This has been tough for everybody, even the guys who have won more than anybody else.
Still, Harvick was 5th in the first practice. 4th was Casey Kane. 3rd, Justin Allgaier. 2nd, the winner last fall, Brad Keselowski. And how about Danny O'Quinn winning the first practice?
Yeah, good lap for him, and he is all about qualifying training. He only ran about 10 laps in the first practice, but all he needs to get that car in the show is one fast one. It'd be interesting to see if he can bag that up in this practice and do it again.
That's what I'm curious about now, Mike, is the fact that we've had all the practice in the Nationwide Series. We've had a full qualifying round as far as the Cup cars are concerned. It's what kind of characteristic is starting to kind of peek his head out. You know, Hermie talked about it in the first practice session. This racetrack will go through some transitions, but then the guys that are smart enough to kind of like look not at lap 1, not 10, but up there about lap 100 to 200, they're the guys that's going to be really good, and they're going to be able to keep up with the racetrack. What's the track going to do? Is it going to rubber up? Is that rubber going to get kind of knotty and bumpy? You know, where do you want your car to run? High, low? I don't think high is going to be the way to go, but low or lower. As we take a look here at Brad Keselowski, he was another guy that was very good in that first practice.
Keselowski 4th right now in this session, 2nd quickest in the first session. Turn 2, the exit of turn 2 in shade, as well as the entrance of turn number 3. Everything else in bright sunlight at this time of day. And so far in this session, everybody right around the bottom of the world's fastest conveyor belt.
Mike, you say conveyor belt. That's what I'm beginning to see from up here in that first practice. I think that's what we're going to see the tendency for this race come at least tomorrow. It may change by Sunday, but I think we're going to see a lot of follow the leader. I don't think you're going to be able to venture up off the bottom very far. Got teammates going at it right there. I'm watching off of turn 4, the 12 with Justin Allgaier and Brad Keselowski in the 22 car. They kind of go at each other pretty good.
Keselowski now peels off to go to the pits. There's Allgaier, who has the 5th fastest lap of this session. He was 3rd in the early practice.
You're just waiting for this Justin Allgaier, Mike, to step up and win a race, and he's getting close. He's consistently a top 10 caliber car. He just got to learn how to put the period on the end of some of these good runs, and he's got everything it takes to win in this series.
You see the Get Well Jaybird on the seat of Justin Allgaier. There's a decal like that on on most of the cars here that we have seen, and that's for track president Jeff Bird, recuperating from an illness and under treatment by the doctors. And Jeff, we miss you and hope you're back at the track soon.
That's right. Couldn't do it without him. Need him back.
You know when he's not here because you used to see him around the garage all the time. We really do miss him.
Speed's presentation of Nationwide Final Practice from Bristol is brought to you by Cheerios. 100% natural whole grain oats and only 1 gram of sugar. And by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com and click on Design It, enter it. Carl Edwards on track. Here's our Sponsifier track description of the world's fastest half mile with its variable banking and the shortest straightaways in Major League NASCAR racing.
Yeah, Steve Burns pointed that out in the first practice, and he's right about that, Mike, that it's incredible how fast you can get around a half mile with the banking that is here at Bristol. And those straightaways, they look shorter than what they really are. You blink and they run a lap.
I'll tell you something else about this racetrack too. It's really your sight can be difficult as a driver because there's so much banking. You know, when you're in the middle of the corner, you're trying to look out of the upper left-hand corner of that windshield to look out ahead, and spotters are very important here, as well as crew chiefs communicating with you, because it is very difficult to see much ahead of you when you're on this racetrack.
I think the other thing too, when you get into a race situation, has to be the focus from behind the wheel, because again, you're running bumper to bumper with someone, and yet you're trying to look not at what they're doing, but also look in front of them in case something does happen to try to avoid an accident. So the concentration level and the focus you got to put when you're driving here with everything happening so fast, it's got to be a big strain, not only physically but mentally.
Well, at most tracks, you drive into turn 1, you can look across and see turn 2. But I think, Hermie, if you dive into turn 1 and you try to look across to turn 2, you're just looking at the inside of the roof.
That's exactly right. And you've actually got to look with your head down, fighting the G-force. It's got a little bit of a fire there. Yeah, the 21. That's a backup car, remember, Jeff? He crashed in the first practice.
Yes, he did. John West Townley's backup car. And they are still having problems with that thing. Can't quite get it under control. See the safety worker there with the fire extinguisher trying to put it out. Now the crew looks like they're going to jack it up. Dick, what's going on?
Well, they've got a fire, and it's mostly underneath the car right now. There's only one fireman here with a fire extinguisher trying to put it out. But the smoke is coming out from all sides, and the smoke is intensifying as this goes on. Oh, there's major flame under the hood of the car right now. They need more fire extinguishers right now.
That's a pretty good blaze going on right there, and other cars in very close proximity. See fire crews moving into position and getting the car up in the air so they can fight that fire underneath.
You got some kind of leak somewhere, because every time they put the fire out, it ignites itself again.
I hear them hollering something about the transmission. Dick, can you maybe add to that? I mean, I'm hearing a lot of crew members saying what the problem is. It looks like they finally got it under control.
Well, the fire is under control right now. John West Townley is out of the car, but still trying to unhook. He's not got his helmet. Just now gotten his helmet disengaged from the car. And I'm going to tell you what, that smoke was toxic. Nothing pleasant to breathe here.
Well, guys, two things here that we talked about just a moment. Backup car and needing to have some seat time to get accustomed to that. This fire is not helping that cause at all.
I tell you, you spray that fire extinguisher across a lot of things under that hood. I mean, they got a lot of things to clean up and check and double check before they want to line up, go qualify tomorrow.
Casey Kane has just run the second fastest lap of this session as he comes to pit road. Let's go across to Krista, who is with the car that scored the fastest lap of practice round 1.
Yeah, Mike, and if you're looking for Danny O'Quinn on the racetrack, you won't find him. He's back here in the garage. They're working on the number 90 car. Obviously, he was very happy with it in that first practice. I said, are you missing anything? Do you need anything out of this car? He said, no, it's really good. What they do need to do is make the show. They're going to focus on qualifying here in this final practice.
We talked about it earlier. We take a look here at Kyle Busch in the 18. They've got 50 cars trying to qualify for this 43-car field. So 7 guys are going to be quite upset when all the, as we saw down the pit road a minute ago, when all the smoke clears tomorrow morning after that morning practice qualifying session. So there's going to be some guys trying to find some speed here late in this practice too.
And Kyle Busch is one of these guys, Mike, that's really struggled so far today with this new tire combination. This Sprint Cup car has not been to his liking, and he's a little bit better. He is 7th quickest in practice too, but he has really been not on the mark so far today in either car as far as what you would expect with Kyle Busch.
Good entry, tight center off.
So Brad Keselowski quickest, Joey Logano, Brian Scott is the fastest of the go-homers, and he is 3rd quickest overall right now. Tonight on Speed, NASCAR battles in Bristol, and the ultimate Friday night house party gets a little rowdy. Rowdy Busch pays a visit to trackside, and the Silver Fox, David Pearson, stops by. There may be another drive-by visitor or two tonight at 7 Eastern, only on Speed.
I think that we may have a visitor come right across from maybe the name of Carl Edwards to show up.
Dick?
With John West Townley, what was it like inside that car? Was it scary in there?
Not really. Everything was pretty much under control there. I mean, especially being in the pits with the fire extinguisher right next to us. I mean, it's all right. No, I mean, it's just kind of one thing after another. We had to pull all the back up because of that spin over there, and now I'm just having to deal with this. It's just a little frustrating, but we're gonna get out back there and see what we can do.
What caused the fire? What caused the fire?
It's tough to tell this person. It's so loud right now. I haven't really heard the details of it, but I guess it'd probably be the brake rotors got touching something, and maybe got things started up a little bit.
John West Townley is going to remember this day for sure.
Thanks, Dick.
I think it's the other way around. This is one of those times he wants to forget today.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing with him too is he needs track time. I mean,
absolutely.
He doesn't have an awful lot of experience, and his first time around in that Richard Childress racing car, he needs to be on the racetrack getting laps.
Hermie, take us for a ride here with Stephen Wallace.
Yeah, he's coming up.
Oops.
Well, that's
never mind.
Michael Annett. Another spin today.
Look at all that rubber buildup that's not on the track, that's going up above the groove in the form of just dust and debris. And here's the 15 of Michael Annett. Didn't get up the track, but
yeah, but he got up out of the groove right there on late exit. He was able to save it, but not save it, Mike. Kept it out of the wall, but he definitely went around.
Annett makes it back to pit lane.
Remember, Hermie, I asked you earlier what it was like when you get up out of the groove? Like driving on ice?
We've seen a lot of that today. And I've never seen this many crashes or spins in one day of just practice at Bristol, and I've also never seen this many people spin and not hit anything. They've been doing a great job of spinning and not turning up a bunch of race cars.
It's because a lot of that rubber up there really needs to be down here and worked into the groove, and instead it's just shooting up the racetrack to nobody's benefit.
And Mike, where you were showing where the groove is, just slightly above that, there's still that real fine stuff that you can't see yet, like this at the very top that's already been moved to the very top. But you get up out of the groove, away you go.
Just all dust, and then you're up, and then you're part of the debris. Track under caution. They're going to do a little cleanup. We're going to take a break. You are watching NASCAR Nationwide Practice on Speed. Dale Jr. up on the truck looking things over with Tony Jr., Tony Uri Jr. And on track, Casey Kane has gone to the top of the board ahead of Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Greg Biffle, and Brian Scott.
Now, Hermie, we were commenting on this 38 car in the first practice. He looked extremely good in that first practice session. Now he's come back. Not only does it look pretty smooth, about 18 laps so far, but he's also very fast.
Yeah, if I was keeping an eye on somebody to really be watching.
Dick?
Well, I think Kevin Harvick may be the happiest driver in all of Bristol. He has just talked to his crew chief, and he and Ernie Cope have decided they're not going to change anything else in this race car. They are so close to where they want to be with race setup that they're going to just leave it alone. They've got it up on scales to see what it is, but they're in great shape with the 33. Krista.
Another driver who is out of his car is Michael Annett, who just recently spun. I talked to him. He said the left front was corded. They put it on the left rear to try to make it last for a little bit. Guess what? It didn't last at all. This is a big race for Annett. Pilot Travel Centers, his sponsor, is from nearby Knoxville, Tennessee.
Thanks, Krista. The go or go home list is pretty long here. 7 drivers will fail to make this show, so I think we may see some desperate measures toward the end of this session.
And I tell you, a lot of people in this series, as well as the Sprint Cup Series, are looking for sponsors, trying to bring new people into the sport. No better place to bring a potential sponsor, especially somebody that's never been to a NASCAR race before, than right here at Bristol.
It will definitely get you excited.
Absolutely. Now, Jason Leffler is in the 10 this week. He is going to switch car numbers back and forth. I think do half a dozen races in the 10 and in his regular ride the rest of the season. But what's interesting is that when he moves from car to car, his crew chief Scott Zipadelli and his whole crew stays with him.
Yeah. Continuity, communication, it's very important. If you want to be good, you got to stick with these guys. You see right now he's working on the inside of the 16 car, and you know it's one of those key elements, and I'm really surprised that they jump these guys around, but I guess numbers don't really mean anything. It's the people that do the work.
The only thing that's going to change with, when he switches from car to car is the wrap. They'll put a decal wrap on one car and move it to the other. But a great idea to keep the crew chief and the driver together and all the guys on the crew, because as Jeff is saying, that communication between driver and crew chief and keeping that going and building that relationship is key.
Brian Scott came up out of the Camping World Truck Series here to Nationwide, and he's made a pretty good bit of noise in this young season. Here's a fellow that looks like he's got quite a future ahead of him.
He really does. I mean, he's showing a lot of talent and a lot of speed right now in this number 11 car. Another Braun entry. Todd Braun's got quite a stable right now of really talented, not only veteran drivers in his cars, but also some good young drivers coming up. Here's a guy I just want to talk about real quick, Brendan Gaughan. Quick story about him. During his weekend off, everybody talks about what they did during this off weekend, whether they did gardening or went golfing or whatever. He took his wife and they went on their family boat scuba diving, and Brendan was actually swimming with the whales. But the funny part about the story was there was a miscommunication. Talk about communication in racing. Miscommunication between his father and his mother about what day he was coming back in the United States. His mom and dad thought the 14th. Brendan said he would be back to the 15th. Well, when he didn't show back up on the 14th, they got panicky. They were calling the Mexican Navy, getting ready to do an air-to-sea search for him. It was all because the line of communication, satellite phone, didn't work where they were at the time, and they couldn't reach him. So they got kind of nervous, and Brendan said Mom and Dad were not very happy about that kind of a miscommunication.
No. The only, to my knowledge, NCAA varsity basketball player in the entire Sprint Cup garage. Not, Brad Doherty's in the broadcast booth.
He's an exception to the rule.
Brad Doherty's the exception, but
played at North Carolina.
The other was Georgetown's Brendan Gaughan. Krista.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Mike, because the first thing I did before this practice started was go over and give Brendan a hard time, because as I said, your Georgetown Hoyas have completely screwed up my bracket. He said, what do you think it did to mine? I had him going a lot further. And then, of course, I had to remind him that my alma mater, Northern Iowa, is still alive.
Imagine that.
Okay, so we have one graduate of Northern Iowa in the garage. All right.
Did she play basketball?
I'm not sure. Have to ask her.
That would be a no.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Volleyball.
Oh, volleyball.
Greg Biffle is 4th on the speed chart. That's no surprise. But he is a go or go homer.
Well, this leaderboard, Jeff, so far in this second session looks a lot more like what we're accustomed to seeing.
Yes, it does.
You got Casey Kane, Keselowski, Logano, Biffle. You got Brian Scott up there, Kevin Harvick, Wimmers up there, Busch, Edwards. A lot more people have seemed to be getting a hold of this of these nationwide cars in this second practice.
I'm not one bit surprised to see Greg Biffle up there. He's also 8th right now in this year's point standings. Here's another guy that's making another good showing as far as points are concerned. Our little buddy Kenny Wallace right now in his Hot Rod Grills.
They had one of these things at Barrett Jackson in Scottsdale, and we showed it on Speed, and the thing looks like a small block Chevrolet, and you lift up what is the carburetor intake manifold and valve covers, and it's a grill underneath. It's cool. It works.
But can you imagine right now a Wallace and a hot rod?
That's a real fast hot rod. Yeah,
it is.
We've heard that a few thousand times
exactly.
over the years. Speaking of how many two-time Daytona 500 winners have their own variety show on national television? Just one. Michael Waltrip hosts Fast Track to Fame. The talent competition so wild it could only happen at Trackside. Catch an all-new episode Monday evening right here on Speed. That's not counting Darrell Waltrip, who used to host the Ralph Emery Show, or Jeff Gordon, who occasionally does
Saturday
Regis
Night Live.
and
Regis. Yep. These drivers, they do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fast Track to Fame is pretty unique. It really is.
There's some interesting and some really talented acts on that show both. Trevor Bayne in the 99 is in the top 10, 9th quickest right now for Diamond Waltrip Racing.
We talked to him in the first practice session. Very happy with his race car. Seemed very excited about his chances to get a good qualifying run and contend for a good solid finish tomorrow. And he's another one, just like Justin Allgaier, a guy that's really been impressive on and off the racetrack, and wouldn't surprise me one bit to see him get up there and contend for this win.
Now this to me is the fun of watching the Nationwide Series. The Trevor Baynes, the Brian Scotts, the Justin Allgaiers, the young drivers who are trying to make a name for themselves and work their way to the top rung of the sport. This is where it happens.
Well, another guy that's really starting to kind of make his way up through here has to be Paul Menard. I mean, this series has really, I think, helped him a lot. We'll take a look at the one car right now, James Boucher. Another one of those young talents that's really starting to get a feel for what it's going to take, driving for Phoenix Racing. James Finch and that organization out of now South Carolina.
Dick?
Well, Logano is sitting in his race car, and there's not much they're going to do to this car to make it a whole lot better, but they are changing one shock absorber and the anti-roll bar. Logano is currently 3rd in this practice session and says that he can get in the middle of the corner and just flat-footed, just mash the gas. And that's exactly what a driver needs to be able to do here at Bristol to pass cars. So many of them get past coming out of the corner. Logano can do that. Krista.
Right now down with the 11, Brian Scott, who sits inside his race car. Brian said right now the drive off is okay, but feels like he's just sitting on top of the racetrack. You see the crew underneath the car working on the rear end. They're actually making a rear shock change. They talked about making a front shock change as well. Right now, just a new set of rear shocks going on the number 11.
I think we're at a real interesting time in this series. A year or 2 years ago, it was thought that you had to be a funded driver to get a ride in this series. You needed $1 million plus sponsor or family money or something to be able to get and run in a competitive car in this series. But it's nice to look around the garage at some of the names we've just mentioned and know that the talent prevails. And a driver who can wheel a car and maybe bring some money, maybe not. At least there are opportunities for talent, not just opportunities for deep pockets.
No, that's true. And I want to go back to Joey Logano, because he's one of those guys who got an opportunity, got an endorsement, and he's made the most of it. But he's talking about his race car. Take a look at his car doing earlier this morning. This is what he couldn't do in that first practice, Mike. He was trying to get back to that throttle right in the center of the corner, and Hermie, we talked about it. Away he went, just broke free, and around it came. And it looks like now he and the crew chief, they have finally got this thing worked out to where he can get back to the throttle. No more of this, they're hoping.
Yeah, they worked on the race car a little bit, and the racetrack is coming to them a little bit, and they've got that thing hooking around the bottom right now. It looks really good on the racetrack, and he's always a factor when he suits up in this Nationwide car. Always a factor to win.
Like I say, I think Kevin Kidd and the engineers over have done an outstanding job to get this 20 car where it needs to be. Now, he was pretty impressive in the Cup car also. So, I mean, he's starting to figure this racetrack out in both series.
If you call qualifying on the pole pretty impressive,
I'd say that's pretty impressive. He not only did he win practice, he won it all.
That's right. One practice, one qualifying. One of 11 drivers trying to do double duty. This weekend we have one triple duty driver. Casey Kane's going to run down at Volunteer Speedway, 40 miles to the west, down I-81, and run the World of Outlaws race tonight and tomorrow night.
That right there could be a lot of fun, or it could be not so much a lot of fun.
Oof. Little slide there. Bet he wishes he had that big wing on the top of this car. 1 week from tomorrow, March Mayhem. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live, Martinsville, Virginia, 1:30 Eastern, next Saturday, only on Speed. Jason Keller, third quickest of the go or go homers in that unsponsored number 35, 13th fastest overall.
Another one of those guys who really runs well on the concrete racetracks here at Bristol. Probably looking forward to next week at Nashville also. But so far this team's kind of come together late in the season, early this year, however you want to put it together, but they've been very competitive.
And trying to divide his time between the sun and the shade on the track right now is Dick Bergman.
Yeah, these cars are very sensitive as far as track temperature goes, Mike, and turn 1 is sunny. And Jeff Probst, who works with me on pit road, has a heat detecting gun, and he's discovered that the concrete in turn 1's about 81 degrees. And then when you come out into turn 2, it's in the shade. Track temperature there is about 62 degrees. So I asked Carl Edwards how that affects the car. And Carl thought for a minute, and he said, well, grip's a little better in 2 than 1. And then he pointed to his head and thought maybe it was all up there.
Well, driver, is it all up there?
The driver's not holding the heat gun.
Well, that's a good point.
But I don't think it's any question that, you know, even though a concrete track does not change with the sun or shade like an asphalt track was, anytime it's cooler, you're going to have more grips. I don't think it's any question that that turn 2 has got to have more grip than the entry of turn 1.
But what happens though is that as the rubber goes down the racetrack, that rubber definitely responds to the sun baking on it compared to even an asphalt track. I mean, it's going to pick it up because of the fact that it's going to get hot no matter what.
Brian Scott pulling in after his practice run. He is 10th on the board. And here, with the exception of Brad Doherty, is Brendan Gaughan, Georgetown Hoyas, class of 1997. And was he not roommates with Allen Iverson?
They played together, and I think they were roommates for a brief period and remain to be good friends even today.
Gaughan was a scrappy basketball player, very much as he is a race driver.
He'd have to be, because again, he's not what you call vertically blessed as far as height is concerned. So, you know, you got to be, he's kind of the, I like to refer to a guy that I used to enjoy watching play in the NBA, Muggsy Bogues.
Right.
You know, when those kind of guys can handle the ball well and give 120% all the time.
Krista.
The Spud Webb of the Nationwide Series, if you will. Well, we've talked about a driver from the area in Trevor Bayne. We talked about a sponsor from the area in Pilot Travel Centers. How about an organization from the area? Nashville's Baker Curb Racing. This is the 27 of Greg Biffle. Right now he is P2, went out there for a qualifying lap. He said he's loose in, but then he gets tight. He needs it to turn center out better. They're going to try to fix that with a track bar adjustment. Mike?
Thanks, Krista.
We've heard that a lot today, Jeff. Cars and drivers talking about being loose on entry, but once the car lands in the middle of the corner, then being too tight center off, and that's a tough thing to fix when it's not doing the same thing throughout the entire corner.
Well, you'll hear Larry talk about it a lot of times. You try to fix the first thing and then worry about tuning around it, because if you can't get down in the corner, getting off is going to basically be immaterial. So even here with this racetrack, you know yourself, you can't be real loose getting down in these corners. Even if you try to back the corner up a little bit, still, if you can't get in the corner and get back to the throttle, it defeats the purpose.
Well, the track is definitely changing, because the last or next to the last lap run by Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, and Scott Wimmer are the 3 fastest laps of this session. So speeds and business are picking up here at Bristol. If you want to keep up with all the results and stats from the track, check out the new NASCAR Stats package. Latest practice and qualifying reports, race results, and driver standing is all right there for you at the NASCAR section of SpeedTV.com. Casey Kane leading this practice session in just about every category. Stephen Wallace 20th on the board. Let's get an update on Casey from Dick Berggren.
Well, as the other drivers are on the racetrack and working with their crews trying to put final adjustments on their car, Casey Kane's car is up on jack stand. And so I asked his crew chief, Stuart Cooper, where's your driver? He sort of shrugged, looked at me, smiled, gone sprint car racing. Where's that?
Well, Stuart Cooper actually was just down here talking to Billy Wilburn, who's the crew chief for the number 11 of Brian Scott. Scott back out on the racetrack. Remember, we told you they made the rear shock change on before that last run. Brian said the car is turning, but it's not down in the racetrack like it was in the first practice. He said that rear shock change helped us turn, but I'm not gripping. Turning, I'm okay. He said I'm not gripping.
I can tell you from experience, if you don't have that grip up off the corner, it will get worse before it gets better.
Scott 5th on the best 10 consecutive lap board behind Kane, Logano, Trevor Bayne, and Justin Allgaier. Brian Scott 5th.
See Kyle Busch has jumped to number 2 on the speed chart. Greg Biffle still up there. Kevin Harvick 4th, and Kelly Byers a nice run. He's in the top 5 now.
There's a young fella, Parker Kligerman, who had a lot of success in ARCA. Comes over, tries a few races here in the Nationwide Series, and it looks like from
coming in, okay, try to clean your tires off coming in.
From his practice speed, he'll be good to go for qualifying tomorrow and have a very strong shot to make the show. He is the 3rd, well now with Paul Menard just cutting a fast lap, the 4th fastest go-or-go-homer. Kevin LePage 6th on the go-or-go-home list. And the fastest go-or-go-homer is with Krista.
And that would be Greg Biffle. He is out of the race car. I know before that last run, your qualifying run, you talked about tight center off. Did the track bar adjustment fix that?
Yeah, it did. It fixed it a little bit. The car is so fast in race trim. I don't really want to adjust it a lot for qualifying. Right now, I'm a little loose in and then tight center out when I pick the gas up for qualifying only. But in race trim, the car's phenomenal. So I think I'm going to leave it there. You know, hopefully, I'm sure that's good enough for a top 10 qualifying spot, I think. And we'll see what we got in the race.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Greg.
John West Townley back out. That's the car that had a roaring blaze underneath the hood in the transmission area earlier in this practice session. And Reed Sorensen, who has a top half dozen time, is now in the garage. Dick?
And he's very pleased with his race car, Mike, as he should be. He's told the crew that the entry is good. It just it comes down to how quick the wall comes up on him. Says he can run faster without any changes in the car, but they have made a couple of them. And this is a very, very good car. He finished 2nd with this car last year at Gateway, 3rd in Phoenix, and he's looking forward to a really good day at it tomorrow.
He's the 3rd of 3 Toyotas in the top half dozen, along with Biffle's Ford and the Chevrolets of Harvick and Byers. Oh, new sheriff in town, Justin Allgaier, just cut a 15:59, and that is the fastest lap of this practice.
He's been fast all along. Look, his car's pretty good. Looking at the speed charts on the long runs as well, but his car's got a lot of speed to the beginning of the run as well. Good run for him so far.
So Herman, you're off to go referee what?
I'm going to referee between Johnny TV and Mr. Excitement on the speed stage.
Well, good luck. Hammond and I'll
If that
be
doesn't
right
work
back.
out, I'll be back.
We're not going.
No, we'll stay right here.
Speed's presentation of NASCAR Nationwide Final Practice is brought to you by Hamburger Helper. 1 pound, 1 pan, 1 tasty meal. And by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com and click on Design It, enter it. waning moments of this final practice session. And Dick Berggren's with the driver who is 7th fastest.
And that's Kelly Byers, and he's also one of the few drivers, it seems, who hasn't had any problems spinning or hitting something today. Given the debris that's outside the groove, given the black that's down from the tires, how precise do you have to be this afternoon to keep out of trouble?
Yeah, we've been pretty good with the Hellman Chevrolet all day. The groove is definitely a lot narrower than it's ever been. And if you scoot the front tires at all a little bit, then you almost got to burp it out of the gas, otherwise you're into the fence here. And we struggled with turns 3 and 4 on exit of 4 to get the thing to keep turning. And so when it's a little tight, obviously, that it's a lot narrower than you want it to be. But we've made great adjustments all day. Guys are doing a good job. I think we got a fast car going into tomorrow.
Good job. Thank you. Chris Laboda.
Dick, want to give you an update on Jason Leffler. Remember, he's in the 10 this week. His 38 car, his normal car, very fast with Casey Kane. Right now, Jason's saying this car is terrible, and they must do something with the front end to get it to turn.
That is not what I want to hear with just a few minutes left to go on a practice session.
No, absolutely not. The other driver we were wondering about as we look at Carl Edwards is Danny O'Quinn, who won the first practice, but was really late getting out to turn a competitive lap in this practice, Jeff. He was 20th when he ran that lap, now 23rd. So O'Quinn's got some speed, but kind of a surprise that not able to back up what he was able to do in first practice.
Well, if I was a betting man, I would bet he's probably not on new tires right now, Mike.
Okay.
I think he's probably saving a little bit, trying to go back out and find out where his car really stacks up as far as this practice is concerned. And if it's pretty comfortable, I just look for him to probably put tires on it and try to make a good qualifying run, because again, even at 23rd, he's solidly locked in the field, and that's the key thing, is getting himself locked in the field. He's one of the go homers. I think tomorrow, you know, he will be another guy that will be able to make this race. That's the most important thing.
Good point. Carl Edwards trying to chase down Ricky Stenhouse, and here is another local driver, Eric McClure from Abingdon, Virginia. That's just about 2 exits up I-81 from Bristol, home of Morgan McClure Racing, and carrying the Sunday race sponsor Food City on his car. Today is Ford Fan Friday, and tonight here at the racetrack is the Food City Fan Fest from 4 to 9 p.m. An event that's open to all race fans to come and look around and enjoy some of the entertainment and some of the fun and the Bristol weekend.
And the weather has definitely gotten better in the hills up here, so expect a big crowd. They'll be out here for the Food City event, as well as our trackside show with David Pearson and Kyle Busch will be on. And we talked about it earlier. Carl Edwards should be coming by, so we might have an opportunity to answer a few questions and have some fun.
Jason Bowles in 39. He is currently 44th, and he's one of the drivers at risk. Among the go-homers, Brad Teague is slowest, then Bowles, then Mark Green, Willie Allen, Morgan Shepherd, and Scott Riggs. Among those at risk of having to go home, qualifying tomorrow morning. And 2 big races here tomorrow. These cars will run in the Nationwide Series race tomorrow at 2:30, and then at 5:30 is the Race of Legends. Cale Yarborough, Harry Gant, L.D. Ottinger, and quite a bunch of the drivers who were NASCAR stars back in the day. And I'm not sure if they've held over the requirement that to compete in this race, you must have been a Bristol winner in either the Cup or the Busch Series at some time in the past. That was the requirement last year, and the entry list looks pretty similar.
Very similar, but who cares? If you want to race here and you're a legend, which you've already mentioned so many of them, it's just going to be fun to watch them get back out there. And notice that David Pearson's number 17 painted up the way it used to be when he drove for Holman and Moody. The blue bottom with the gold top. I mean, very reminiscent of his heyday. Good to see it ready to go racing tomorrow night.
Dick?
Well, Justin Allgaier, Mike, has just left the garage area where they've made some minor adjustments on his car. He is currently 3rd on the board, and what a start he has had to the 2010 season. 3 starts, 3 top 10 finishes. He is currently 4th in points. This kid is only 23 years old and driving for Roger Penske, and you just know he's going to have a great future ahead of him, and maybe tomorrow will be the day when he scores his first win in this series.
Knocking on the door is Justin Allgaier. There's the Cat in the Hat, and we'll be back to wrap things up from final practice at Bristol. Closing minutes of this final practice for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano. Brad last August, the winner in this series. Joey Logano on the pole for Sunday's Cup race, and they pace this practice. Let's get out of pit road, where I wonder if there's going to be a little bracket busting going on. Here's Krista.
Exactly, Mike. With Brendan gone, so do I talk horsepower or hoops? We've been giving each other a hard time, and just so you know, during this practice session, we showed your basketball photo from college.
Well, you know, first racing side, we were a lot better than last. We're about as good as we were last year for the race, not qualifying trim. Second, the Hoyas taught us two things this year. They could beat any team in the country when they wanted, and they could lose to any team in the country when they wanted. But I don't care how well they did or not. I still bleed Hoya blue, baby. I still got my blue and gray on. I love Code 3. I love, you know, Big John. That's why it's called NCAA tournament, man. Any given day, anybody can do it.
And do you still talk to all the players? I mean, Iverson, you still keep in touch with those guys?
I actually had lunch with the Junkyard Dog, Jerome Williams, the other day. Going to do an appearance for him in Las Vegas in a couple weeks. And the Hoya family's always special. I always talk to Coach Thompson. Alan's baby is pretty sick right now, so you know, always rooting. Anytime his kid's involved, you know, it's real tough. And Alan, he's a very, contrary to many people's belief, he's a big family man. So I hope his baby's doing well.
Of course, Brendan about to be a family man, baby on the way with wife Tatum as well.
Exactly. Get out of the doghouse with mom and dad after last week's little weekend off.
Right.
Riding along here right now with Johnny Chapman, and Mike, in that first practice, he looped that car around. He was 10th quickest at the time. He's another one of those guys who needs to put down a good lap. He's 34th quickest right now.
He's just right on the line.
Yep.
Of go or go home.
Got to beat 7
with that 92. And you're right, he's 8th from the bottom. So.
But the car didn't look any worse than where it did a good job right there. See the tape on the left front fender and the left rear quarter panel. The car spun around and he got in the outside safer barrier, but not too much damage.
So based on practice speeds, the drivers most at risk of going home tomorrow morning would be Brad Teague, Jason Bowles, Mark Green, Willie Allen, Morgan Shepherd, Scott Riggs, and Chris Lawson. Scott Lagasse is one of those who's locked into the field.
It could be interesting because Mark Green has been quite the qualifier here at these types of racetracks in the past, as well as Morgan Shepherd. You know, he's sat on the pole here 3 times and he's got 4 wins here, second only to Kevin Harvick's 5.
There's a look at Lawson, who lacks, let's see, lacks about a 10th of the drivers who are above the line in the go or go home group.
But Mike, we've seen it when it comes to Bristol and Martinsville, the short tracks. It's going to be 1/1000th of a second,
sure.
2/1000th of a second, whether you make the race or not make the race. And tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, these guys are going to get up and they're going to have their glass of coffee, or orange juice, or whatever. And then they got to come out here and they got to, you know, basically buckle that chin strap and lay down, you know, somewhere in a sub-16 second lap to make this race. I mean, that's a tall order at 9 o'clock in the morning.
And there's a threat for the pole, Justin Allgaier, who is 3rd in this practice as the flags are out, ending this session. Now, you will see qualifying tomorrow on Speed. It will be broadcast slightly delayed. Noon Eastern time is the time to watch qualifying. Which of these drivers will be on the pole for Saturday afternoon's race?
Who can hold their breath? We've already seen Joey Logano do it once here at Bristol. Can he do it twice?
Why not? NASCAR Live coming up next. Trackside later on this evening on Speed with David Pearson, Kyle Busch, and a drive-by by Carl Edwards. So a lot going on your network for everything. NASCAR at Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend. Keep it right here on Speed. Congratulations to last August winner in the Nationwide Series, Brad Keselowski. He has won this practice session.